Hey guys, back again. It's Sunday. Been a couple days. I finally got the radiator on Friday for this thing. So there it is, aluminum radiator. It's a pretty nice piece, really. It was 230 bucks shipped. Got it from Champion Cooling. You know, made in China deal, but it looks really good. So I'm gonna get that thing mocked up and installed. I kind of halfway put it in there just to see how it would fit. It doesn't quite, because the tanks, they put these just flat strap welded to the bottom of the tanks and on the top as well. So when you have the factory rubber ones, it doesn't quite hold it exactly the same. So I kind of halfway put it in there just to see how it was gonna fit, but I'll get it to work. It'll be just fine. Won't be an issue. So my goal today is I'm just gonna kind of go through everything on this thing again. I got to jack it up and get under it and check the starter. My buddy said something about, his friend said something about the starter on it, something's not right, a bolt or whatnot, so I got to jack it up. I got to make sure the torque converter bolts are even in it too. I think they are, but I just need to make sure because I don't know how far he got with pulling this thing out. So I'm going to check all that stuff. And then I got to trace a couple wires, and I'm going to go ahead and stab the distributor. I got to pull it back out, put it on top dead center, number one, get that all set up, drop the distributor in it, and then I can time it. But I want to pull that distributor back out because I want to check this ignition, this conversion. There's these little points, but I just want to go through the instructions and make sure that it's all installed correctly before I throw it in there. So cover my bases. But other than that, I'm really close to just firing this thing off. Just to make sure it fires and it'll run. Should be okay with everything else for the most part. So, all right, I'm gonna jack this thing up and see what's going on underneath. Okay, everything underneath looks good. I checked everything. Starter's fine. One of the bolts is just kind of hard to get to, and he kind of rounded off the head, so I think that's what he was talking about. I'm gonna pull this distributor out and check that electronic setup, make sure it's correct. I think I got the wires figured out. This was for the air conditioning idle increase solenoid. This is for the air conditioning compressor. I don't know what this one is. This should be key hot for the coil. This was electric choke. And then this is my temperature sending unit, which is right there. So I think I got that stuff figured out. The vacuum lines, I'm just gonna kind of disconnect and plug everything off just to fire it and make sure. I traced the vacuum lines back to the transmission. There's only one hook to the transmission, but there's two lines going back there, and one of them's capped off, and I don't see where another one goes, so I think it only takes one. And then I've got the two canisters over there. I got to figure out all the vacuum lines. I'm trying to find a schematic online. There's a guy that has one. I just got to download it and take a look at it and figure all that stuff out too. And then some of the stuff I'm going to eliminate. This was an aftermarket temperature gauge. The end of it's all busted off. I'm just going to take that out. This thing had an alarm on it. Here's the hood sensor right here. All that wiring, and then the horn is right there. I'm just going to rip all that stuff out of it. I don't need it. All right, that escalated quickly. All I wanted to do was pull this wire out for the hood, and then and the temperature gauge, which I pulled out already, and then I found this mess. Ugh. For frog snacks. People, don't let these guys put aftermarket alarms in your cars. So I'm gonna undo 6,000 zip ties in here and try to trace everything out and get everything out of here while I'm here. I forgot this is one bad part about working on a car, is being this low. I'm so used to working on trucks. So this sucks. But all right, I'm gonna get in here and tear this dang rat's nest out of here. So good times. Okay, now I'm annoyed. So well, there's the bulk of the mess right there. So I got that all out. That's the main part of the alarm. Then I had these other heavier red and black wires, and I couldn't figure out where they were going. It crosses over to the other side, the passenger side, goes into the door. This one doubles up, goes in through the boot, goes into the door. So I had to pull the door panel off, figure out what the heck was going on. And then once I figured that out, I was like, oh, this thing had, they put aftermarket door lock actuator. You can't see it, but there's an electric door lock actuator in there, so that's why. So I was wondering what the heck those were. So I've been chasing that mess for a little while. And I got a bunch of wires I got to fix under here. I got to put these back together again, and they had more fuse taps and garbage in here, let me tell you. So anyway, I'm gonna finish cleaning this thing up, get all this garbage out of here. I love aftermarket stuff. All right, I got everything back together. Got door panel back on. That's the final carnage. So all that junk I ripped out of this thing. So now I can get back to what I was trying to do. I was working on the distributor and getting this thing timed. So all because I wanted to clean up some wiring, but I'm glad I did it. So now it's all back to factory original underneath. It's all right, I'm gonna get back to this. Okay, so I'm ready to time this thing. What I'm gonna do, I got nobody else here, and I don't have a battery in it. So what I'm going to do to find top dead center, and I can barely read this balancer as well. It's really hard to read and it's faded and I can't see it. So what I'll do is I took the spark plug out, and what you can do is you can barely thread the spark plug in it. I mean like one thread, just so it's really loose. That will let enough compression go by the spark plug that you can hear it when it comes up. When the piston comes up, it'll push just enough air out past the spark plug that you'll be able to hear it. And then there is a mark on the balancer that I can kind of think, I can see that I think is top dead center, and then what I'll do is I'll just verify it. So as long as I hear that air coming out past the plug, I know I'm on the compression stroke. So that's what I'm gonna do. Number one is up here. So I'm gonna barely, I mean like one thread where this thing's like half a thread just ready to fall out. There we go. And I'm just gonna spin this motor over by hand. There, you can hear it pushing out, and pull this back out. And I'm just going to put a little straw in here in the cylinder. Okay, I can feel the piston is right there at the top. So I know I'm at the top, number one compression stroke. So right now my rotor is pointing this way. And the way this cap and rotor and everything is set up, somebody set it up to where number one is right here. So I'm just going to move it so it's pointing at that, so I don't have to move all the wires around. I'm just going to lift this up. I'm going to spin this. This clip out of the way. And I'm just going to drop this distributor back in. Try to line it up. There we go. So that would put me right there. That's not quite where I want it. I'd rather have it over a little bit more. That's better there. That's pointing basically straight forward. This will give me, should give me enough room on the where the AC compressor goes. It shouldn't interfere. I should be able to get enough timing at it. For right now, I'm just going to fire. I just want to fire it, so I'm just going to leave it right where it sits. And I'll put the cap on and set it up right there. Of course, I'm going to move it so I can get the clamp on first. Don't want to forget the clamp. I'm just going to snug this clamp down so I can still move the distributor. Oh, and I did go through the distributor. I checked it, the installation on that Pertronic steel. It's fine. Everything looks good. I'm just going to put a little bit of tension on this thing so I can still move it. There we go. I'll just point it right at this. And I have to wire everything as well. So now I can take the cap and wires and find my slot on the front. That lines up there, and I can put my clamps on. Okay. So now what I'll do, since this one's already set up as number 1, I'll go ahead and I'll start from here. I'll put the spark plug back in, and then I'll start hooking all the plug wires up. All the plug wires on it. Now I gotta mount the coil. I think it went here on the intake, and then I gotta run the wiring for it, and then figure out what my ignition hot was, which I think it was this one here. So I'll get a test light, put a battery in this thing, and put some juice to it, make sure, and then get that mounted, and then I'll basically be ready to just test fire it. I'll pour a little gas in the carburetor and fill up the bowl and give it a whirl. Hopefully everything works. We'll see what happens. All right, I think I'm ready. Coil's wired. I got power. Should be good to go. Hopefully I got the orientation right. Got the battery in it. It's just kind of sitting in here. I tested the key. It did crank. I'm going to dump a little gas in the bowl and see if I can get some in the bowl. I have no idea about this carburetor. It may work, it may not. I have no idea. So we're going to just go for it. So I'll pour a little bit down the yap and see what happens. So try to get as much as I can in the bowl here. Whoop, too much. Perfect, as Derek always says. See what happens. Oh, it's gonna be loud. Get ready. Sorry. If you're wearing earphones, get ready for it. All right, sorry about the camera. All right, well, she fired off. That's good. I'll back the aisle down at it. Down a little bit. I'm trying to think how I could pump some fuel into this thing. I got the fuel pump hooked up. I don't want to pull out of the tank yet because I have no idea what's in it. All right, I'm going to figure out a fuel line real quick and see if I can. All right, I got a quick and dirty fuel can hooked up to the fuel pump and just a crusty old fuel line to the carburetor. See if I can't get it to run a little bit longer. I'm just gonna dump some more fuel in here. Okay. All right. Get ready for loud noises. Sorry, I'm gonna hold the camera this time because it's just too wants to fall off the car. It's starting to pull. Feels like it is. A little bit more. Said I know nothing about this carburetor, so I'm completely winging it. I was going to take it to work and rebuild it, and I just didn't. So can't be that bad, right? Squirter. Yeah, sounds like it's getting fuel. And I have no idea if this fuel pump's any good either, so the fuel pump could be shot. Oops. Perfect. All right, let's do it again. Oh yeah. Sounds like it's got fuel there. I did pour some fuel down the fuel line reverse order, so it should have primed it, but one thing I forgot about is this thing had one of those cheap clicky clacky fuel pumps on it, so I think this fuel pump might be bad, but let me try it again. See if I can just get it to pull. Alright, that's all I got. Runs though, that's cool. Sounds good. It's not pulling fuel. Okay. Oops, my battery fell. Well, I'm happy with just that. So, cool. No, it sounds good. I guess I'm changing that fuel pump. And of course, it's tucked way underneath all the bracketry. I told myself to just replace it, and I didn't. So, oh well, that's what I get. So, well, there it is. It runs. So now I can tidy everything up, figure out the vacuum lines, get the radiator installed. I just looped the tranny cooler lines right here for now. I got to get the transmission cooler for it, and figure out a battery tray. So yeah, I still got a list of stuff to do, but it runs. I'm happy.